Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed. So I'm going to start off in a very touchy, it's a little touchy. There's a story about the Target CEO, Brian Cornell, who is meeting with Al Sharpton to discuss the rollback of DEI. Now, I'm going to put the phone number out. 866-801-8255. Now, you know, I did Al on America with Reverend Al. It was Newsweek called it the best policy book during that presidential run, and it was. I put my foot in it. We had a great time, and I got to know the man. I sat with him. He's on. He of course is on Urban View. He was here before I got here. Still here. For those of you, you know, his whole 3 hours after my 3 hours runs again. He's on. Mm-hmm. I have a severe problem with the CEO of Target thinking that they could reach out to Al Sharpton and stop what's going on right now. So there's a couple of ways that I want to approach this. So I'm because I'm not a flamethrower. I know y'all think that I am, but I'm actually very thoughtful when I open my mouth, because out of the overflow of the heart, I got to be righteous in the things that I'm saying. Does he not take the call when they call? Because see what has happened, and that's our fault, because we ain't say, hey, we ain't take a vote. These people don't represent us collectively, and I don't know who represents us collectively, because if we're being honest, this is the way it should roll, right? Who's the leader of the Hispanic people? Who's the leader of the Asian people?
Correct.
Who are the leaders of the Jewish people?
Yeah.
Okay. You can't name a name. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to us, and this is intentional, and I can't blame the people who get the call, except that I think in this time we can. This is the time. This is the time when you don't take that call. This is the time when you say, I can't tell black people what to do. This is not, you're going to have to sit in this, Mr. Target. What's his name? Brian Cornell.
Let me say, I'm familiar with Brian Cornell. He is a former proud Walmart associate like myself, so I'm very familiar. And I have thoughts, actually, having a little bit of visibility into how retail works. And I do also have questions because I think this is a very odd approach. Like I will frame it this way. Very little as it relates to navigating social climate comes from the CEO. So someone somewhere in Target, and we don't know who that person is. We don't know what their position is. We don't know what their interpretation of connecting with the Black community looks like. But someone somewhere probably said, maybe you should set up a conversation with. This is not a thing that was pulled out of thin air. This was not, no. Someone handed this likely to him. So whose decision was it to make it public? Because okay, so let's walk through this. Okay, so we both gonna share some inside information today. Yeah. And I can't believe I've lived this long to have done all these things. But there once upon a time, I sat on an editorial board at the New York Daily News where we were runners up for the Pulitzer one year, and then the next year we were in the running, nominated again, and could win. We also, we meet every day at 11 o'clock, and we have these conversations, and around the table, it's like, well, there is a notion at the New York Daily News, the editorials that we're writing about the Apollo Theater can be viewed as racist. Mm-hmm. And if there's a backlash, we won't win the Pulitzer. These are the conversations. Mm-hmm. So look around the table. Who knows the people? Oh, Karen, you just did this book with Al Sharpton. That's right.
Okay, so set up a meeting with Al Sharpton. So I was the one that brought in Al Sharpton and Y.T. Walker into the editorial board meeting, and here was the conversation, and I kind of let it, like, we're writing these editorials. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know you're friends with Charlie Brangle. I know the Percy Sutton. I know. We know all of the things, but this is going down, and you can either get out of the way or get swept up in it because we know some things, and here are the receipts. Okay, here are the receipts. Do you want to get swept up in this thing, or do you want to stand down?
All right.
They stood down. There were no protests. We won the Pulitzer. I think now, and this is why I think uniquely am in this position because I've been in these rooms on the other side. You've been in these rooms on the other side, and so we can talk about how things happen.
But social media is not a factor in the same way in the circumstances that you and I are talking about.
Correct.
Compared to today. So
correct.
That's where
this was 25 years ago.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
There was no TikTok, no Instagram, none of that existed. So, right. You were correct.
I'm saying this was a decade ago for me. Like, when Brian Cornell was at Walmart. So I am of the opinion that is a factor. So when the question becomes why or how or who decided it should be public, was there even a discussion or a decision about that? Because in the day and age where everything is content, was there?
Yeah, but who leaked it? Who leaked it, Amber? Because that's a conversation, right? So
but my point is,
who should we call? Okay, let's call Al Sharpton.
Well,
and because in the past we've been able to call him, and he's cut deals, and then the black people stood down. Stop. Okay, I'm laughing right now.
That's why I go back to who was the potential party who said, well, maybe the right person to call, because they may be working from a historical, ill-informed context as well.
Correct.
So, I listen, if you listen to the Human and Well podcast, I was very strategic about what I shared, but I'm of the opinion that there's an approach that should be taken as it relates to how we protest organizations. I didn't necessarily name Target or any organization specifically, but I was very clear about where I stand. So I have thoughts about the entire approach, but I will say this. If it were me making a recommendation to a leader in a position such as the one that Brian Cornell finds himself in, you would be better having a community town hall.
Yes. So here. Thank you, Amber Cabral. Yeah. Listen, and this is. I'm gonna talk plainly. 866-801-8255. There are two historical problems on the table. Number one, that white folk in these, and I'm using white folk as an avatar for the power dynamic and the structure, the systems of oppression. That's white folk. It's not all white people. It's not people who identify as white, because y'all don't even know what's going on, or you wouldn't have voted the way you did. All right, so here we are, right? That you think you could pick up the phone and call anybody. Not Jamal Bryant, I think from his pulpit was the one calling and had the page and all of that. They didn't call Jamal Bryant. They called Al Sharpton, which tells me whoever's making the recommendation, no disrespect, Al Sharpton. He's got his Nan thing. Everybody shows up. They kiss the ring. He's another version of ring kissing, by the way. There are rings to be kissed. Listen, I don't have a contract at MSNBC directly related to actions made, but and still I rise, and still I'm not even petty enough to be like, we're gonna tit for tat. No, we don't do that, because it's about the people. If you're really about the people, you're not gonna get personal. I'm saying some things today so you understand the context. Number one, you don't reach out. That's the wrong person, and it's the wrong thing, because it's about we the people made a decision. We didn't have a meeting. Jamal Bryant did lead a thing, but most of us came to the conclusion that, you don't want our dollars, you don't get our dollars. We've kept our dollars.
That's it. And so there's another thing, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this at some point in some place at some point. Target being impacted is a much easier grab, because for perspective, at least when I was still, working in, that part of retail, Walmart makes, the way it would be framed would be Target makes for the year what Walmart makes in 3 months. So they gonna feel it faster.
Yes.
The footprint is smaller. The way that the organization operates is very different. Now, I will also say this. Not necessarily a thing people understand, but that also means that it was a lot easier from a logistics. This is not a belief conversation at this point, but from a logistics standpoint, for a Target to say, hey, underrepresented identity, we would like to do a better job with representation, and here's how we can make that work, where it didn't require the same standards, process, palettes, the things that make retail run. It's a little easier for a Target to do that because they are a smaller brand, right? But that does mean that the impacts are going to be felt faster.
That's right.
And so in a circumstance like this, yeah, when I saw it, I was just like, oh, this is an odd approach. You're in Minnesota. I don't know. I just feel like there are places that are very close to where you are that you could have held a town hall experience.
Yes.
Been even selective and curated about the invite list, but perhaps even had a panel, that would have created to me a bit more of I am listening. I am interested in communicating and connecting. It would have messaged that for me a little bit more than I'm going to go pick the stereotypical, typical. No shade against Al Sharpton. I don't know the man, I would not have gone and that's just this 2025, baby. This is a little different. Yeah. This is a little different.
Okay. I also thought that Target didn't roll out their rollback of DEI properly, given its history with actually featuring and promoting and highlighting Black, in particular, Black brands in their they could have stood on business with what they have done and even had the conversation about how they're going to move differently in these times and still serve the community. This was an easy fix. I was sitting there watching. I'm like, y'all doing this? Y'all don't still do this? This is stupid.
I am also of the opinion that there are things we could have done differently with comms. Yes. I am also of the opinion that if you take that listening ear, the ear of, things are a little hot right now, I probably need to put a message out, and you take that mindset and go read that Target message that they put out, you're going to read it a little differently than you read it when you first saw it from the perspective of everybody rolling back. It actually was attempting, from what I saw, to kind of say like, hey, y'all, we about to make a few changes. Don't freak out, but we got to do this real quick to be in line. And if you went into a Target, I know lots of folks were not, you would notice that they still had a very visible Black History Month. It was happening.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They were pretending to comply. So I'm like, they could have survived.
It was bad messaging.
They just bad messaging. So maybe the CEO needs to step down for just being tone deaf, right? And there's something to be said for that. Brian Cornell, you probably don't deserve to be CEO because you don't pivot well. And y'all were trying to, and I know they're probably like, we do more things for Black people than anybody. How we call Al Sharpton? It was like, listen, that's just now you have sealed your fate. And let me just say, the other problem I have, and this is a problem I've had since Tawana Brawley. I'm going there today. This is a problem I've had since I sat at the New York Daily News, sitting there. It's like, as a journalist, why in the total F are we? Why is this happening? Like, I would be sitting at my desk like, who we didn't have a vote. No one voted for this. And I'm not saying that the man does not, because I've been in the office when people call him when something happens. I've been there. I've been in the office. And to his point, people call him. He's not ambulance chasing. There are ambulance chasers. I feel like Grace Jones right now. He's an ambulance chaser. I know an ambulance chaser. He's actually not that, right?
Right.
People call him to come in, and he does highlight because he does have an audience. But we had a running joke at the Daily News, like he's run for every office. It's the same 100,000 people.
Yep.
Same 100,000 people going to show up. But it gives it, and again, in this world of illusion, in this Kardashian world that we live in, you have the illusion. And so people then show up, and then the illusion becomes fact, right? But the following ain't the following. I'm here to tell you.
And the following is not like the following is evolving. Okay, so there is a following.
Yes.
But there is also, I mean, where you're following, is your following on Instagram? Is it on TikTok? Is it on YouTube? Where you're following at? Because depending on where you're following actually is, might dictate which call you should be making. Okay.
Period.
I don't know that there was I just, to me, this is, to even highlight your point, this is an indicator of who are your comms people. I don't know that I would expect the CEO to know how to navigate this independently. Who are your comms people?
No,
because there's some choices not being made in that spot.
Today, if you're going to be the CEO of a corporation,
It's true.
You need to
It's
be
true.
leaning into
It's true.
messaging.
It's true.
You don't have the
It's
luxury
true.
to sit back and go, oh, well, that's my communications. But I don't have no.
And so to me, the decision that should be of question is who are you talking to and why did you make that choice? Because
you know what?
you cannot rely. This is a different world. Your old school comms approaches are not going to operate the same. I think there are a lot of companies learning this lesson. I think that what's happening right now is Target is learning it very publicly.
Okay. I see it. Here's been historically the problem that so-called these power structures feel like Black people are interchangeable.
Oh, for sure.
So you see it at MSNBC. So it's Melissa Harris Perry. Okay, she's out. Let's put Tiffany Cross in. Okay, let's get rid of her. Let's put in Joy Avery. Okay, let's get rid of her. Here comes Abby Phillip, and we got this one and that. That's CNN. But they're interchangeable. They don't see us as individual talents. They just see us as Black, right? So even in the Daily News, somebody was like, when I was on the editorial board, well, they already have a Black on the editorial board.
Correct.
I was like, they don't have a Karen Hunter. My boss understood the time that there was a difference, and it wasn't about me being Black per se.
Yes.
However, and oh my God, there's so much to talk about here. But these are new times. And this was the problem with DEI, because a lot of companies just went and got any old random Black person that had DEI on their resume and stuck them in there. And as a result, nothing got done. So there was a swath of DEI that actually didn't move the needle. Not you. Amber Cabral came in with all the things. But you know what I'm saying? I'm telling the truth.
In full agreement. I might nod my head off my shoulders right now. Yes, 100%. Like I think the omission of that alone could get us, quite a ways away from some of the confusion that's happening. Let's be real about how impactful some of what was done was, and let's be real about how it wasn't. If it was my $300, $400 million, billion, I might have rethought how I was going to spend it too, based on some of the results. I know that's not popular to say out loud, but let's look at the results.
Yeah. But I think it's time, and I love where we are right now. So thank you. I thank you, Brian Cornell. We need to have this conversation, because as we move forward, what we cannot do is the thing we did before that didn't work, right? So number one, we have no Black leaders per se. There ain't no one person you could call. You're going to have to talk to all of us, okay? All of us. You're going to have to figure out how to find all of us.
You got to look at it like a campaign. You gotta look at it like a campaign. What do the people do? They go from city to city. They have little, conversations with groups of. You gotta kind of almost position. I just think that this could have been handled so much better than just I'm gonna have a call without this. Come on, please. Like, absolutely not.
All right. And this is not a conversation about Al Sharpton, because he's going to take, this is how he's wired. So he's going to take the call. He's going to make it big. He's going to bring, it's going to be cameras. It's going to be all of that. Somebody in the Nubia chat, who's going to tell him? Okay. I was accused this week. Actually, somebody called me because who I went in on the radio. Again, this is live radio. I ain't thinking about y'all. I'm not thinking about your feelings and how you're going to be impacted by the stuff that I'm saying. Don't do the thing. Don't do dumb stuff, and I won't talk about it, okay? So that we can have an agreement. If you do dumb stuff, the guy was like, you could at least call and brought me on to defend myself. And I was like, but you did the dumb thing. So I was if I brought you on, I was going to clown you. I felt like I was doing you a favor, not bringing you on to clown you. Can we have this conversation? So yes, I could have called. I guess maybe I'll call Al Sharpton. Maybe I'll send him a text. But this is not about him. This is about us, and leadership is about them, and how the audacity that they think that they can call one person and stand us down. In the past, in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, that absolutely worked, because we didn't have a way. We didn't have our Arab Spring. We didn't have a way to telepathically tell one another to sit your ass down somewhere. We didn't have the quilts. We didn't have the drums.
Correct.
So
we have all the instant messenger, we have all the WhatsApps, we have we have too many ways to communicate to one another, which at some points means we are miscommunicating. But in this particular scenario, we have to there's a lot of folks who are not in touch with the reality of how things have changed, potentially including Al Sharpton. I don't, again,
I'm sure. Because his conference is going on, and it's fabulous. Everyone shows up. The donors keep donating. The people, they keep, pouring in.
The ride is riding.
So why would he think that anything has changed? You know when I knew things changed? When Kendrick Lamar lit that ass up this summer. in the wake of the darling of the music industry and destroyed that man's career. Now I know he's got an album coming out. I suspect y'all ain't buying it. I think it's done.
I feel like it's like the second album already since all this started. I don't know if we should be albuming. I mean, sometimes we just got to know when it's our turn to sit down. So everybody needs a resting season. This is probably his resting season. He's just not taking the hint.
Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.